Defense mechanisms are psychological strategies the mind uses to protect itself from emotions, thoughts, memories, or situations that feel threatening or overwhelming. They often operate automatically rather than through conscious intention. When reality produces fear, shame, guilt, rejection, grief, insecurity, or emotional conflict, the mind may attempt to reduce the discomfort by changing how the experience is perceived or emotionally processed. This is why a person can sometimes react to a painful situation without fully understanding why they're behaving that way. Denial may allow someone to avoid accepting an uncomfortable reality. Projection can lead a person to attribute their own unwanted feelings or motives to someone else. Rationalization can create convincing explanations that make uncomfortable decisions seem reasonable. Displacement can redirect emotions from the person or situation that caused them toward a safer target. Suppression involves consciously pushing uncomfortable thoughts aside, while avoidance attempts to prevent contact with the emotional trigger altogether. These mechanisms are not automatically signs of weakness or dysfunction. In moderate forms, psychological defenses can temporarily protect a person from emotional overload and give them time to process difficult experiences. Problems arise when a defense becomes rigid, automatic, and persistent, preventing the person from confronting reality or understanding themselves honestly. The deeper danger of defense mechanisms is that protection can eventually become imprisonment. A person may avoid vulnerability so consistently that genuine intimacy becomes difficult. Someone who repeatedly denies their anger may eventually express it through resentment, withdrawal, or passive behavior without recognizing its source. A person who constantly rationalizes mistakes may protect their self-image while preventing themselves from learning from failure. Projection can damage relationships when personal fears are repeatedly interpreted as evidence that other people are hostile, dishonest, or rejecting. Over time, the defense becomes part of the person's personality and may feel like reality rather than protection. The mind becomes skilled at avoiding discomfort but less capable of tolerating it. Psychological growth begins when a person becomes curious about reactions that seem unusually strong, repetitive, or difficult to explain. Instead of immediately defending the reaction, they can examine what emotion lies underneath it and what the mind might be trying to avoid. This requires self-awareness rather than self-judgment. Defense mechanisms developed for a reason, often helping the individual cope when they lacked better emotional tools. The goal is, therefore, not to eliminate every defense, but to develop greater flexibility. Healthy psychological functioning allows a person to acknowledge painful truths without being overwhelmed by them, accept criticism without collapsing, experience vulnerability without feeling powerless, and recognize uncomfortable emotions without immediately pushing them away. The strongest form of emotional protection is not the ability to avoid pain completely. It is the confidence that difficult emotions can be experienced, understood, and survived. When the mind no longer needs to distort reality simply to remain emotionally safe, self-awareness becomes deeper, relationships become more honest, and personal growth becomes possible. Sometimes the defense that once protected you becomes the very barrier, preventing you from becoming free.